Yeah. After 20 incredible weeks. It all comes down to the final game of the season as the Stamps host the Eskimos.
Jermaine Copeland, touchdown! What a catch, Jason Tucker!
The Battle of Alberta is always fierce. It's a rivalry marked by brutal battles. And today, the stakes are high. With BC losing last night, Edmonton can wrap up top spot in the West and a bye straight through to the final if they can win today. It's Eskimos, Stamps, and it's next on Wendy's CFL Live.
Don't go nowhere! BSC is taking all of it. I know you watch it.
Down, 1 to go in the 2005 CFL regular season, and there's a lot on the line in Calgary today on Wendy's CFL Live. And hi, everybody, for the last time this season, hello, Dave Brandorf, Jock Climbing, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. And as if a game between Edmonton and Calgary isn't enough, you've got this, all the stakes, the high stakes on the table today on the last game of the season. The final score last night, Saskatchewan 13, BC 12. They've now lost 6 of the last 7, and they failed to take advantage of the opportunity to lock up first place for themselves. So that means simply this. If Edmonton wins today, they finish first. They host the West Final. BC will host Calgary in the Western semifinal a week from today. If Calgary wins, then the Lions do finish first in the West. Calgary will host the Western semifinal. Look at Edmonton. They go from potentially all the way from first down to third. Jock, we haven't had a tie all season long, so we won't even talk.
You're not going to bother with that.
Let's not bother with that scenario. We'll deal with it later if we have to. This is the third and final meeting, obviously, between these two. They're tied 1-1 after their Labor Day week clash, which they split.
Yeah, when a team gets ready for an opponent, here's what they do. They tend to look at the last 2 games that team played, and then they look at the last time the 2 teams played against one another. And here's what Ricky Ray and the Edmonton Eskimo offense is going to see when they look back to September 8th in the Labor Day rematch. Calgary was simply determined to not get beat deep. And this is what they normally saw when they looked down the football field. 4 guys flying down there, making sure that guys like Jason Tucker and Mitchell and Hervey and the rest of those high-flying guys do not beat them deep. But you know what? Ricky Ray didn't seem to understand this. For whatever reason on September 8th, he was so determined to throw the ball deep that they were absolutely ineffective. So I'm looking for more ball control, particularly with Joy Davis on the football team now, to start moving the ball down the field methodically.
Well, Jocko, at 11-6, this has been a good year of football for the Edmonton Eskimos, but if they can win this afternoon, it'll be a spectacular year. To me, these 2 teams are pretty much even, but if there's one edge, special teams. The kicking game right now is for Edmonton. Sean Fleming is a hot kicker, and in the return game, Tony Tompkins right now can be the difference maker, because I'm not sure Calgary has something comparable in his ability to create a short field, to create a field goal due to that short field, or take it all the way and produce a touchdown. If there's an edge, I look for a special teams edge for the Eskimos in this particular game by a young man, number 14, Tony Tompkins.
Yeah, he's special to watch. And you know, Schultz, when you talk about Calgary, what's the first thing you think about?
Defense?
Defense, obviously. And you talk about the 6 teams that are in the playoffs, you think defense, well, maybe exception to Montreal, they make up for special teams and offense. But Calgary's defense is where you start with this football team. Whether they pressure with your Patrick Terrence, Sheldon the pass jerk, or Abdullah or their linebacking core, they are flying around using their athletic ability and speed. And what they've done this over the course of the season is they've certainly added the obvious missing ingredients on the offensive side of the ball. And they've really started to understand their roles. And you see Henry Burris settling down offensively, special teams, they fly around, they have good cover teams, and Sandro D'Angelo's been outstanding. Dave, this football team is a team you don't want to mess with. In fact, for the last 6 quarters, they've simply shut down Edmonton, keeping them to 16 points.
They certainly have. Big game coming up. Last order of business, the Boston Pizza CFL poll question. Who do you think's going to come out of the West to go to the Grey Cup? BC, Calgary, or Edmonton? Remember, Saskatchewan is in, but they are going to have to come out of the East. And time now to introduce you to these starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Wendy's. Do Wendy's do what tastes right? Ricky Ray has taken just about, every snap for the Eskimos. He gets the call, of course, again today. And there's Henry Burris' numbers. Sit back, get ready, and enjoy.
Thank you, David. Game 90 in the CFL schedule.
the season finale, and still so much to be determined as Edmonton meets Calgary at McMahon, and it's a playoff atmosphere, postseason weather conditions, the temperature -1. The field is damp after overnight snow. And it should be a cold evening, but hot on the field. Danny Machocha's Eskimos have won 3 straight and 6 of their last 7 visits to McMahon. If they can continue the trends here today, they will finish first, improbably, in the West. And there's Tom Higgins, whose Stamps have won 6 of 7. And a Calgary victory sets up this matchup again next Sunday at McMahon in the Western semifinal. Glenn, we hope this game, when we looked at it, would have some significance. We couldn't have imagined how big it has turned out to be.
I knew there was a reason that we circled this one in the calendar a long time ago, not just because it's the Battle of Alberta. The Edmonton Eskimos have a chance for first place in the West with a win here this afternoon.
The great rookie Sandro DeAngelis puts it on the tee, and here we go. Kiyu Craver with the return for the Edmonton Eskimos out across the 40-yard line. So decent field position for the Edmonton Eskimos to start, as Ricky Ray leads the offense out looking for his first touchdown pass in the last 5 games.
The only quarterback in the Canadian Football League to take every single snap for his team, provided he stays in the entire way in this one. There are his receivers, Jason Tucker, Daryl Mitchell inside. Offensive line that's had Dan Comiskey, which has made it better over the last 3 games.
Starting lineup brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. And the first pass of the game is a completion, and it's Mookie Mitchell with the catch up across the 50. It's a first down as Mitchell grabs his 91st of the season.
Calgary defense that ranks 4th against the run, 6th against the pass, but is leading the league at sacking the quarterback, and that's a race that we will watch here this evening. Sheldon the Paschuk up front has 8 sacks on the season. There's that tremendous linebacking core, George White, Brian Clark, John Grace, and Scott Coe. And a secondary that has come together. Joey Bose's had a couple of starts in a row now at that halfback spot.
Ricky Ray now 10 completions away from Doug Flutie's CFL record. Movement along the line looked like Calgary jumped, and Troy Davis in his first Edmonton-Calgary clash.
Troy Davis in 3 games is averaging 92, basically 92 yards a game, and what a difference this has made. In fact, for Danny Machocha and the Edmonton Eskimos, basically changed their offensive game plan completely. I mean, this was a 90% passing team early on, and Ricky Ray was on pace to break all kinds of Edmonton Eskimo passing records. But with the acquisition of Troy Davis and Dan Comiskey, and they came together, and they both are integral parts of that running offense.
Stamps offside, so it's 1st and 5 as they nose into Calgary territory. And Troy Davis spins off the initial contact from Demetrius Maxey, and Davis has a first down.
Prior to Troy Davis arriving in Edmonton, you'd have to go back to the Mike Pringle days in Edmonton to find their last 100-yard rusher. That's how much they were struggling running the football with their auditions they had at that position. But Troy Davis is a north-south runner. Very rarely will the first tackler bring him down, and he has been a difference maker for Edmonton in their last 3 wins.
The 11 for Davis. It was actually 21 games without a 100-yard rusher for the Eskimos until Davis cracked the century mark against Toronto. Underneath, here's Trevor Gaylor, and Gaylor stopped at the 37. George White in on the tackle, and White begins the day 7 away from Kevin Iben for the league lead in tackles this season.
Ball control type of first series for Ricky Ray. Little Troy Davis running the football, and then a crossing route. Nice high percentage throw right over the middle to Trevor Gaylor.
Catch number 70 for Gaylor, 4 yards, and that puts him 97 short of 1,000 on the year. 2nd and 6. Ray under pressure, looks for Jason Tucker, and he pulls it down.
John Grace had come on the blitz right down Main Street on Ricky Ray, and he was hit as he threw the football. The ball went up like a quail duck, and Jason Tucker just ran underneath it. Grace is going to hide in the line of scrimmage and then sneak around on the stunt, and when he does, he comes free. Here he comes right down the middle. Troy Davis got a piece of him, and there's the hit on Ricky Ray. But watch Tucker just run under this duck. And he did the right thing, catching the ball at the high point.
First down, Eskimos marching. Ray short drop. He's got Tucker at the end, a second catch for Tucker, who came into this game struggling with just 11 catches in his last 5 games.
Yeah, that is shocking when you talk about Jason Tucker and you look at his numbers. 81 catches coming into this game, 1,278 yards and 10 touchdowns. First of all, the entire team offensively is struggling finding the end zone, throwing the football. But in his last 5 games, just 11 catches, like you mentioned, Chris. They got to get the ball more. Obviously, he's game planned today.
Yeah, Ricky Ray said that yesterday. We got to get the ball into our playmakers' hands, and Tucker is our biggest playmaker. Well, they stuffed the run here on 2nd and 1, and this will be close and likely require a measurement.
You mentioned it out of the gate. Where is Ricky Ray now in that completions in a single season list? Here he is, 459, right tied with Kent Austin, 1992 in Saskatchewan, and climbing a ladder fast, and will pass Doug Flutie today.
Our stats man David Moyer is going to feel like an accountant today. There's a lot of numbers.
That's why he gets the big bucks, because he can do the math.
It'll be 3rd and inches. Jason Tucker now at 62 yards away from nailing down the top yardage receiving on the season.
Yeah, and this is sort of the Jason Tucker zone for this offense, or at least it was for most of the season. We showed that he struggled in the last 5, but early on in the season, when they got down in this red zone, it was Tucker on the corner route.
And the Eskimos with just 1 touchdown in their last 6 quarters against Calgary. That was in garbage time, as Ray will sneak for the first down, but it came in the final minute of the loss against Calgary in the Labor Day rematch. So they've had trouble solving this Calgary defense.
And a lot of teams have. The Calgary defense is difficult because of the design of the defense. And that was the first priority for Matt Dunnigan a year ago when he came in as the head coach, to bring in a 34 defense, because he knew as a quarterback how difficult it is to play against a 34.
A methodical, patient drive. Goes down inside, and Hervey dropped at the 3-yard line.
See the confidence of Ricky Ray to be able to turn his back to Ed Hervey, flip his shoulders around, and have that ball out of his hands. I mean, Ricky Ray here will not look at Hervey and give away the defense. He's going to turn his back right here behind center. He's going to look at him turn his back and then just flip his head around and throw that dart right in there to Ed Hervey. He knows exactly where Hervey's going to be.
So on the initial drive of the game, Ricky Ray has put the ball in the hands of each of his 4 starting receivers. 2nd and 3, option toss, Troy Davis, touchdown Edmonton.
Tremendous drive to start this game in hostile territory for the Edmonton Eskimos. And you mentioned it, Chris, methodical. We used Troy Davis in the running game, ball control with crossing routes, short passes, high percentage throws, and then a wrinkle to run an option with Ricky Ray, something that you don't see very often because Ricky Ray not really a threat to run the football. But Scott Coe stepped up to Ray. That opened up the pitch to Troy Davis. Touchdown Edmonton.
John Fleming, the point after. And that caps a 10-play, 68-yard drive. Troy Davis takes it in. Troy Davis has his 2nd touchdown as an Eskimo. And Edmonton scores an opening drive touchdown for the 4th time this season.
Well, they needed it probably more in this game than any of those. Here in Calgary in the Battle of Alberta, to score first is huge.
Terrence Wilkins back in the Stampeder lineup, and this is why they love Wilkins. Up across the 40-yard line, 32-yard return as Henry Burris will lead the offense out. Let's take another look at the Eskimos touchdown.
Denny Crean was talking to the linebacking core of the Calgary Stampeders. There's Scott Coe, and this is the way you normally play the option. You have to take quarterback first and hope that you can have a scraper get to the running back. But in the case of the Edmonton Eskimos, Scott Coe was being told, I'm sure on the sideline, don't worry about Ricky Ray. Not real run threat there. Troy Davis is the real run threat.
Burris goes to the air right away. He looks for Jermaine Copeland in double coverage, incomplete. Donnie Brady, Kelly Wiltshire there. And Burris looks for a flag.
Joffrey Reynolds, second in the Canadian Football League, rushing the football this year, has not had great success against the Edmonton Eskimos. In fact, 2 games, just 22 yards. They'll need to establish him. Nick Lewis did a little talking this week, heading into this game, and Godfrey Ellis in at center for Jamie Crysdale, who announced his retirement.
2nd and 10. Henry short drop inside. There's Nick Lewis. And he'll back up the top with a key early first down for the Stamps.
1,234 yards and 8 touchdowns for Nick Lewis so far this season, with 1 game to go, working on Shannon Garrett, a matchup we will watch closely here this afternoon.
And we will have more on Lewis from Jermaine Franklin very shortly. 49-yard line after the 20-yard pickup, a first down for the Stamps. And here is Joffrey Reynolds, his first carry. And as you mentioned, Glenn, tough sledding. 8 carries, 1 yard against the Eskimo defense on Labor Day, 10 for 21 against them in the rematch.
Well, they're a defense, and there's the front 4 led by Joe Mumford that is #1 against the run in the Canadian Football League. Reason for that, A.J. Gass, Singor Mobley, and Stephen Marsh, but primarily A.J. Gass. Kelly Wiltshire is the safety. Shannon Garrett will be up against Nick Lewis. We'll watch that.
On for the top defensive player, Wiltshire, the top Canadian on the Eskimos. 2nd and 8, and that ball nearly picked off. As Shannon Garrett was in the neighborhood.
Shannon Garrett, sorry Chris, was in that perfect position, and basically the trail position. And he has confidence to be able to do this because he'll just let Nick Lewis break to the out. Now look at his position. That ball has got to be thrown up and over the top to the sideline by Henry Burris for the Calgary Stampeders to have a chance. Perfect position by the veteran Shannon Garrett. 11th season in the Canadian Football League for Garrett.
Rookie Burke Dales, who's had such an outstanding year as the punter for Calgary, into the game. Angling the punt, but a little too much on it. It'll go into the end zone, and Mobley will field it there. No yards flags, but likely a single point will be conceded, but there is another flag further back, so we'll sort out the cloth when we come back. Still sorting out 2 penalties on the play, no yards and a holding, and while we do, let's join Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. Well, Nick Lewis has succeeded in posting bulletin board material in 2 locker rooms. That's right, he was quoted in the Sun Saturday as saying the Edmonton defensive backs were scared of the Stampeders receiving corps, just like Saskatchewan. Talking about killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, he says his personal intent is to make Shannon Garrett look bad in today's game, and he wants to make him look so bad that he considers retiring from football when the game is over.
Yeah, there is a little trash talking, and then there's backing the dump truck right up and just dumping the whole lot of trash. And that's what Nick Lewis did with Shannon Garrett. So that's why we'll be watching this matchup between Nick Lewis to see if he can walk it like he talks it against the veteran.
He didn't do any talking yesterday. The coach, I believe, got to Nick Lewis. It's just not Tom Higgins' form going into a big game. Or going into any game. Well, after the penalties, you can see the Eskimos starting deep at their own 5-yard line and a completion for 5.
Yeah, and he's still doing it. Shannon Garrett has no chance. And we've seen 1 catch already by Nick Lewis, but 1 almost interception from Shannon Garrett. So it's an interesting matchup to watch.
Shannon, a veteran, 10 years in the league. Don't really think he's scared of anybody. Look out, Ricky Ray had to scramble to pull that one in, and then the ball dropped by Matthew Bertrand, the fullback. And the Eskimos are going to have to punt from deep in their own zone.
Bertrand and Ricky Ray could not stick a fork in that pigskin on this play. Maybe better for the Edmonton Eskimos that this ended up incomplete. You can put their punt team on the field. Those are the type of plays that often end up in a fumble. Even if you scramble around, you just somehow, offensively can't get the handle. Fleming will have to kick it deep, depending on whether or not he gives up a safety here.
Just
but he
gonna
does
ask
have
you
the
that,
wind.
Coach.
Sorry. Yeah, he does have the wind, and he is only 3 yards in.
And he will punt. Terrence Wilkins across midfield and dropped at the 50. Bertram and Tico Dalton in on the tackle. A 10-yard return. Stampeders enjoy good field position. They start at the 50-yard line. They fake the toss and now have Copeland wide open. Jermaine Copeland is dropped at the 30-yard line. And Henry Burris over 4,000 yards passing on the season.
Over 4,000 with a good throw over there to Jermaine Copeland, but boy, did he have Nick Lewis wide open down the middle for a touchdown. Now, I'm sure after going deep in the first play, Steve Barato talked to Henry Burris and said, listen, ball control and intermediate throws are good to move the sticks. Let's go back to that. But on that particular play, he had Nick Lewis wide open for a touchdown down the middle and didn't see him.
21-yard gain. First down, the option toss. It's David Allen. And Allen has close to 4 at the 31-yard line. And Henry Burris has done a terrific job since coming off the injury of protecting the football.
Boy, is he ever. You look at his last 3 games. Henry Burris is basically perfect. I mean, 54 of 79 is around 68%. Good yardage, 6 touchdowns, but most importantly, controlling the football, protecting the football. 0 interceptions, 0 fumbles for Henry Burris in 3 games, all 3 wins.
2nd and 6. Here comes the rush over the middle, and Copeland was all tied up by Donnie Brady, and that draws flags.
We'll get to take a look and see if Donnie Brady was interfering with Jermaine Copeland trying to come across the middle on what's called a dig route. First of all, you can see Donnie Brady has inside position, so where he wants to be. But how Copeland makes that nice little move, he gains that inside position with that quick little turn to the inside, and you can see the left hand all over Jermaine Copeland there from Donnie Brady. And prior to Labor Day, Chris, the receivers for the Calgary Stampeders talked about Donnie Brady and the holding that he gets away with, or they thought he got away with throughout the season.
Brady's response is that it isn't basketball, but that one drew the foul. And now Joffrey Reynolds, big room, touchdown! Reynolds with his biggest run against the Eskimos this year.
And David Allen with his biggest block. In order to be untouched to the goal line for Joffrey Reynolds, you need at least 1 block at the point of attack, and boy, does he get it from David Allen. Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield here. Watch this little toss, pretty simple play. Student body right, get every blocker you got over to the right. David Allen blows up the edge player for the Edmonton Eskimos to get Joffrey Reynolds around that corner.
15-yard run by Reynolds. The number 2 running back in the Canadian Football League. The extra point is at it. And we're all tied up first quarter at McMahon. 4 plays, 50 yards as the Stampeders respond to the opening drive touchdown by Edmonton.
Chris, I got to show you this block by David Allen. He's going to come out here on Kiyu Craver, who's got contain on the play. If Craver can step up and get contained, there's no play. But look at that block right there by David Allen. He blows up Kiyu Craver. He's on his legs and down on the turf, and that springs Joffrey Reynolds to the end zone.
Big Jeff Peel on the right tackle, providing a block as well. And Reynolds hits the goal line for his 8th rushing touchdown of the season. Tony Tompkins. Check that, Darren Diedrich, the returner to the 35-yard line, the Canadian rookie. And now Ricky Ray will try to answer back
with some realistic field position on this drive. Previous drive backed up inside the 10-yard line. Completion percentage bang on so far.
First down, that little flare. Mitchell again. Good collision. And Mookie dropped at the 43.
The true story of a football great's ultimate test, starting over with no memory of the past.
Terry Evanson is dead and he's not coming back.
David James Elliott stars in a CTV presentation, The Man Who Lost Himself, November 15th.
Well, the stadium was the site of a lot of Terry Evanson's great moments, and it was a thrill to meet and chat with the Hall of Famer Friday night. 2nd and 3. And wide open on this near side. Troy Davis, a lot of room to run down into Calgary territory. 17 for Troy Davis. Again, the man who lost himself. What would you do if every memory you ever had was suddenly gone? David James Elliott starring in the true story of Hall of Famer Terry Evanson. Tuesday, November 15th at 8, 7 Central on CTV.
A must-see movie. Outstanding. Tough not to get a little emotional watching that.
Eskimos marching. First down, Ray. And there's John Grace. There's a penalty flag down as Grace stepped up and separated Matthew Bertrand from the football.
You know, that previous run by Troy Davis, who bounced to the outside, got pretty good yardage off. I talked earlier on about
holding
the combination.
Edmonton number 60. 10-yard penalty. First down repeated.
The combination in there of Dan Comiskey, 67, and Troy Davis coming over to Edmonton. Comiskey was in charge of blocking John Grace on that last play, and that play right there to Troy Davis. And he took Grace to the opposite side of the formation. Grace was the guy who had to scrape and get over there to Troy Davis, and Comiskey took him out.
Holding penalty against Chris Morris called. And so it's backed up 10, 1st and 20, draw play. Here's Davis. And Scott Cole there to meet him at midfield. 8-5 for Troy.
And watch Dan Comiskey one more time as he's now cruising. These guys like to call this cruising. And here he is again. And a lot of the running plays for the Edmonton Eskimos are going to be right behind that side of the line. Dan Comiskey over there along with Bruce Beaton. And look at Comiskey get down the field and again get his shoulder pads and his helmet on John Grace. It's tough to stop the run from the linebacker position if the O-line are getting on you.
It's a completely different offense with Troy Davis, and not just Troy Davis, but Dan Comiskey. There's a pass broken up, intended for Trevor Gaylord, and that will bring up 3rd down. Jermaine Chapman, the defensive play.
Well, you know, give Trevor Gaylord a little credit here because he does go up strong in an area that has Chapman right there, and there's also a Calgary defender coming from the inside. I believe it was Trey Young. So there was a lot of traffic in there. I'm not sure that Ricky Ray might want that one back. I could have gone the other way in a hurry.
Chapman really emerging as a solid force in that Stampeders secondary. First on the corner, now inside. Sean Fleming puts that into the end zone. And this will be conceded by Wilkins for a single point. 64-yard single by Fleming. And the Eskimos with a 1-point lead. Well, yesterday we talked to Henry Burris about how this team has been built and how, according to him, they're on schedule for greatness despite some skepticism.
Bringing Jermaine Copeland, Gauthier, those guys have been big for us, and Raheem Abdullah. I mean, you guys speak volumes about the moves that have been made here, and you know, after those 3 transactions, and you know, I had to be a part of this because I definitely knew this day was definitely in the very near future, which a lot of people, especially there at the panel at CFL Live, probably didn't think we could do.
Oh, there's a, okay.
Boy, that panel takes a lot of heat.
Boy, they do.
Here's Joffrey Reynolds, and Finally, he solved this Eskimo defense. First the touchdown run, and now he rumbles across the 50, 17 more for Joffrey Reynolds.
What a block by Jeff Pilon. It's this time of year where the trenches become that much more important. We saw Dan Comiskey that time. Jeff Pilon with a nice block to turn Joe Mumford away from that play right there. I mean, that's a great one. Turns Mumford outside.
First down. It's been an unheralded offensive line for the Stamps. Burris going up top. He's got Marte Jenkins at the 22-yard line, brought down by Kelly Wiltshire.
Play to Joffrey Reynolds earlier buys Henry Burris an extra second in the backfield because he goes to play action now. Joffrey Reynolds has some success. Now he goes to play action. That holds the linebackers for a second. Some confusion for the Edmonton secondary. And Donnie Brady gets in a chase position because he got caught up back there in the mix.
36 yards. Burris to Jenkins. First down on the Edmonton 22. Burris again looking deep. And that one knocked down. Shannon Garrett, Nick Lewis continue their battle. And the defense wins that battle. And a great first quarter here at McMahon. And a one-point game. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
You can see 6 first downs for each team, but the time of possession favoring the Edmonton Eskimos. That's because the first drive for Ricky Ray took up 6 minutes as he played keep away from the Calgary Stampeders early on.
Henry Burris looking sharp right now. Looks at 2nd and 10. And Burris on a roll. Looks into the end zone. Brett Brown, touchdown.
Well, it starts with great play design to get Ricky Ray, or excuse me, to get Henry Burris outside of the pocket because he's going to have a receiver come down and crack from the outside, and so he can get in the corner. Kelly Wiltshire is coming on the blitz, and he gets that block. That brings him outside. Now Burris has wide open throwing lanes and finds Brett Ralph.
3rd touchdown of the year for the U of A product, and 2 of those have come against Edmonton. DeAngelis, the extra point, Stamped back in the lead on a 22-yard pass to Brett Ralph.
Up a notch. Last few weeks, we felt that playoff feeling and the fact that the defenses usually start to play with a lot more intensity this time of year, and that's a group that certainly can turn it up. George White leading the way with 105 tackles.
Coming in, looks like he's got a couple more at least. So far in this first half, Ray airing it out, looking for Ed Hervey. Incomplete. So Ray takes a shot. We haven't seen him go vertical a lot in recent weeks. And this one falls incomplete.
Well, John Climby told you before the show that when they played each other before, the Calgary Stampeders' #1 game plan was to take away the deep ball from Ricky Ray, and they were successful in doing that in Edmonton. And that's something that Ricky Ray has changed his game plan a little bit over the last few games. Gone more to ball control, but trying to go up on top there.
Over 19 quarters now without a touchdown pass thrown by Ray. The Fleming punt into the arms of Wilkins, and he's drilled backwards as Stephen Marsh led the entourage downfield. First place on the line for the Eskimos should they win, and for the Stampeders, a home field advantage for the Western Semi against Edmonton if the Stamps prevail. Joffrey Reynolds cuts back. There is a flag. Craver in on the tackle on a field that's holding up rather nicely after snow overnight here in Calgary.
Well, it's that time of year. It's time of year where the playoffs are around the corner. First place on the line, home field advantage. You got to clean the snow off the stadium. You got to clean the snow off the field. The running game is more important. The trenches become more important. And you go and bang away.
Holding call against the Stampeders. Pushes it back. It's funny that Burris stressed yesterday he wanted to make sure that they won today so they didn't have to play on the crappy field in Edmonton. Commonwealth Stadium, as he called it. Here's a pass for Nick Lewis, who's drilled by Kelly Wiltshire, but Lewis pops up quickly.
Yeah, and in my scorecard, I don't know if you have the same, Chris, but on my scorecard right now, I have Shannon Garrett 3, Nick Lewis 1. There's been 4 attempts to Nick Lewis to the left of your screen here. He gets a little help here from Kelly Wiltshire. But again, Shannon Garrett in perfect position on the inside shoulder. That has to be an absolute perfect throw, and there's no way that Henry Burris is getting it in there. Shannon Garrett's been right there.
Garrett, who was named to the Eskimos All-Century team, so it's a quality guy Nick Lewis decided to take on. 2nd and 20. Henry steps up, pumps, and he'll run, and slides down at the 47. And that will be 5 yards short of the first down. Burris, the number 2 rushing quarterback in the league behind Kerry Joseph. And congratulations to Kerry Joseph for hitting 1,000 on the year yesterday. That was the second nicest story from that game. And tip of the cap to Joe Powpow, who's one of our favorite people. And
yeah, and won't be out of work long.
No. And we'll be looking forward to talking football with Joe next year somewhere in this league. There's Tony Tompkins back. Well, the last time these teams met, there was just nothing on punt returns. In fact, there was less than nothing, negative yardage on punt returns for both teams. But Tony Tompkins in the positive territory here, drilled by the punter, Dales, out of bounds at the 46. Three lead changes early in this game. And the Eskimos with the football as Ricky Ray airs it out to the sidelines. Hervey there, flagged down, and Hervey brought down short of a first down. And again, penalty markers on the play. As we, it's always great when Edmonton plays Calgary, but the matchups get intriguing, especially when there's a little trash talk to spice things up.
Well, right now, Shannon Garrett is winning that battle. Nick Lewis doing a lot of talking coming in this week against Shannon Garrett. I've got it about 3-1. But is it just me, or is there a little bit of a lack of intensity for this rivalry in this game? I'm not seeing the big pops and the big hits that we usually see when Edmonton and Calgary play each other.
Crisp first drive for the Eskimos, but you're right, we haven't seen any haymakers thrown yet.
And maybe it is because of the importance of the game. Both teams don't want to take the stupid penalty and get too intense.
First down, the penalty was against the Stamps, and there's a play made by Raheem Abdullah, the former Eskimo, the defensive end, coming down the line to bring down Troy Davis.
Ricky Ray must feel a little snake bit right now when it comes to throwing a touchdown pass. 0 TD passes in 19 quarters and counting. September 24th was the last time he tossed one across the big yellow stripe at the end of the field.
And we have now clicked over 300 minutes of playing time without Ray throwing a touchdown pass. He had the league lead for quite some time. John Grace read the mail, breaking up that play intended for Jason Tucker, and that's the reason this man is the defensive nominee out of Calgary.
You know, with John Grace, what he does here is he does the old step around drill. It's a drill that you run in practice where you drop and you have a receiver just stand in one place, and the idea is to go right off his shoulder, step around him without making contact and get to the football. Tremendous quickness from John Grace on the step around drill.
4 straight drive that's ended with a Sean Fleming punt after the initial touchdown march by the Eskimos. Wilkins from his 15. And he's brought down immediately. Matthew Bertram first there. 37 on the punt, 3 on the return. His family on the sidelines. An emotional retirement announcement earlier this week after another knee operation that ended a brilliant 13-year career. He'll be honored at halftime. Nick Lewis just made it, what, 3-2, 4-2? And again, you're an old defensive back, so, you know, score at home.
Yeah, 4-2 for Shannon Garrett right now on Nick Lewis. Nick Lewis trying to go inside on him a couple times, so this time elects to go to the out. Shannon Garrett has taken away that inside position. Nice move to get outside, but, you know, just a thought on Jamie Crysdale there. 1993 was his first year. August 6, 2005, he played every single game until August 6th. From 1993, every single game until this year in early August, Jamie Crysdale dressed, played, and started for the Calgary Stampeders. I mean, that is some kind of streak. Over 200 games for Jamie Crysdale consecutive. And for an offensive lineman to be in there, kickers get that kind of streak, not offensive linemen.
The only upside when you retire, you get to spend more time with that beautiful family. There's his daughter, Grace. 6 receivers were out, but Dave Ewell halts proceedings. Jamie's done some great work in the community, raising money for cancer research. Grace is
Calgary 64. 5-yard penalty. Still second
fought her
down.
own very young battle with leukemia.
Everyone wants to take your picture.
Oh, Grace looks all Canadian to me.
I was going to say, a little X's and O's talk maybe down there.
Godfrey Ellis has replaced Crysdale at center. 2nd and 15. Burris. Great move by Burris, and he'll scramble with it. Flies are in pursuit, and Henry Burris took the hit. It ends up close to the first down marker. It looks like he'll come up just short. Donnie Brady moved up and got a piece of Burris, and they'll measure.
Henry Burris uses the old pump fake to get Cedric Scott up in the air. He's going to come from this side of your screen. And this is what buys Burris some time and gets him outside. Joe Mumford makes the inside move. Here comes Cedric Scott. See that little pump fake? Got him to jump and move his hands up. He ran right by Burris, then gets hit right here. Rolls hard out of bounds.
And it was Keo Craver who got an arm on Burris, who stretched out.
And he put that left hand down to brace his fall, and that left hand is the one with the cast on. Now, the thumb is pretty much healed, but the cast is just protecting it from falls just like that one.
And he said yesterday, if there's a hole, he's going to run with it.
Oh, I think it's absolutely mandatory for Henry Burris to run the football.
He did say he'd get out of bounds to avoid any big hits, but when you're in a game condition and you need that extra yard or two to get the first down, you saw Burris take the hit and come up just short, and it's inches away from the first down as the Buffet boys hunker down. Movement there. Burris will plunge for the first down. No markers as the Eskimos did get back onside, but Dave Ewell signals it's a fresh set of downs.
Well, one of the reasons that you'll see Henry Burris, like you mentioned, Chris, run a little bit is because of the design of the play calling from Steve Barato. And what I'm talking about there is getting Henry Burris outside of the pocket. We've seen a lot of rollout from Burris. Sometimes he's scrambled to it, but often it's a called play to get him outside the tackle. Then he has the option to throw or run.
Snaps by 7 as they pitch to Reynolds. He has a touchdown in the game. Fumbled that ball, but it goes out of bounds at the Eskimo bench. Edmonton claiming they were the last to touch it, but they're not selling it on the sidelines to the officials.
But the hit does not give you possession of the ball going out. In other words, you have to touch it after the hit. So here comes the hit. That, even if that went off the helmet of an Edmonton Eskimo, that does not turn the football over. The Eskimos also have to touch the ball before it goes out of bounds, be the last ones to touch it to take possession. So I think that's a good call by the officials to keep the football in the possession of the Calgary Stampeders in that case.
And Tico Dalton with the hit. They were without Rashad Genty again this week as he continues to recover from a hamstring problem. 2nd down, 8 to go. Looked like the Stamps were offside, and flags do fly as Juhas has a catch. Shannon Garrett there. This one likely coming back.
The officials give the slot-backs a little leeway when they're moving forward towards the line of scrimmage. In other words, they can sort of get into that 1-yard neutral zone if they're running forward and continuing to move. If they put the brakes on and are offside, that's when they call them. And
Offside. Calgary 82. 5-yard penalty. Second down repeated.
Yeah, Nick Lewis could have been called, or Nick Lewis was called, but Mike Juhas could have been called as well.
Yeah, it looked like all 3 receivers to that wide side, and at least 2 of them were ahead of the play. And now Juhas out of the game, and Joffrey Reynolds checks back in. And it will be 2nd and 13. 4 receivers wide side. Burris straight back. Gunning it downfield. Jump ball nearly picked off as Garrett stepped in front of the intended receiver, Marte Jenkins.
Well, Garrett ended up bouncing into the inside receiver, and it ended up being Marte Jenkins. Henry Burris had to give up a whole bunch of ground and back up. That's why he couldn't put much on that throw to Marte Jenkins, get it up over the top of Shannon Garrett and get it to him. That's because the pressure was coming off the edge from Singo or Mobley.
So Tompkins back. In the first 2 games against Calgary this year, 11 returns, 32 yards. So the Stamps punt cover team's done a nice job. He's had 1 good return so far today. And we'll take this one from his 18. And Tony Tompkins breaks the tackle out across the 40. Marte Jenkins can't bring him down, and finally caught from behind. And Tony Tompkins taken down by Reinhardt after running through what looked like a face mask from Marte Jenkins. A 42-yard return.
Tony Tompkins going to get a nice block from William Loftus to get things going. Watch number 18, how he's going to, rather than run straight, he buckles over here to get a good angle. William Loftus picks up 1 block. Now he's straight there, and watch him buckle around. He turns around, gets a better angle, and then steps into a block so he doesn't get a clipping call, and Tompkins breaks that tackle, and away he goes.
That sets the Eskimos up at the 50, and that ball just got outside to Mitchell. Nearly knocked down by Raheem Abdullah, but Ray does make the connection.
You know, right at the end of that return from Tony Tompkins, it looked like he got his head turned around there, and there was no flag on the play. Marte Jenkins, well, he kind of went across the face mask and got the side of his helmet more than anything.
Eight yards on the completion of Mitchell. 2nd and 2. 2-back set, and the fullback first man through. Bertram should have the first as he crosses the 40.
You know, when we showed that graphic about Ricky Ray and the lack of touchdown passes, it's just amazing when you think of the receiving core that he has to work with and the passing game that the Edmonton Eskimos have in their arsenal. I mean, it's almost unheard of for him to go 19 quarters without a touchdown pass with the likes of Jason Tucker, who seems like when he gets close to the end zone, he finds a way.
Part of the reason this Eskimo team has really struggled at generating big plays of late. They have 1 play over 40 yards in the last 5 games, have not had one of those against Calgary from scrimmage this season. And as you can see, last year they dined out on the big play, 27 times over 40 yards. Less than half so far this year.
Yeah, but that's defenses too. You know, defenses are doing their work, doing their homework.
There's a first down. Troy Davis. Little stutter step, and Davis across the 35 as close to 6.
When you got guys like Jason Tucker, this was the Labor Day rematch. You might as well just throw it up into the end zone, see what happens. Because Tucker can come up with catches just like that one. Maybe the best of the year right there.
And that is the only touchdown pass against Calgary in the last 8 quarters. Head-to-head, Edmonton and Calgary. Second down, flags down, and Ray has a connection to Ed Hervey. And it comes up. A little eye problem. His first game against the Stampeders this year.
Kobe Reinhardt tracked him all the way across the field on that crossing route.
Calgary, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Raheem Abdullah got caught in the neutral zone. He stepped in, didn't get back in time. They're going to have to flush out the eye of Ed Hervey. He'll have to go out for 3 plays at least now because the training staff is on the field.
4 minutes to go here in the first half. And a reminder, join Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, Jock Climate for their take on the teams and players in this year's CFL playoffs. CFL Countdown. It's next Sunday, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on TSN as we set the table for the postseason.
Yeah, and we'll have that preview show for you before the semi, before the final, before the Grey Cup, so you can get everything you need to know prior to the big playoff matchups. And there will be some beauties this year.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm completely confused on who we should be leaning towards, who's hot, who's not, because there are 6 teams that look like they're capable. BC is puzzling at the moment, and yet they would have been the odds-on favorite 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, both these teams could be the favorites right now.
Ed Hervey continues to get attention. First and 10 Eskimos from the Calgary 29. Ray airing it out. And this one not close as Jason Tucker was well covered on the play. Ben Kelly was there.
Well, and Ben Kelly has seen this movie. And you got to give Ben Kelly, who's a rookie, credit for knowing that at this point of the field, Jason Tucker's running a corner route. And guess where Ben Kelly, he ran right to the corner. He didn't even play Tucker on that post at all. He knew that sooner or later, even if he looked into the inside, if he took a couple of steps to the inside, that Tucker was coming back to the corner.
Boy, that secondary's improved. They haven't allowed a 300-yard passing game in the second half of the season. They were shredded a bit in the first half. There's an incompletion as they try to dump it off to Troy Davis. Then it'll bring up third down.
Well, this Stampeder defense has turned it up in a big way, both in their run defense and certainly in their pass defense. The first 8 games of the season, they were 4-4. And passing yards allowed per game was over 300 at 323. They had just 5 interceptions. In the last 9, like you mentioned, Chris, just a complete turnaround in their pass defense. 6'6" in the record, but not giving up a 300-yard passing game in any of those 9 starts. And this is a team that can get pressure on the quarterback, but their secondary has come together.
Sean Fleming's made his last 10 straight, but that streak is over as he mishits that one from 36. It'll go for 1. 6-point Stamp lead. A reminder, Wendy's at the half. Just less than 3 minutes of playing time away. You heard from Henry Burse. And now the boys get to respond.
Wow,
That'll be interesting.
Apparently, not one of the 4 of them thought the Calgary Stampeders, but according to Henry Burse.
So says Henry.
Yeah.
I love when those guys stir it up, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they have to say.
And we know Henry's watching. So.
Well, they're watching.
Henry slings that one across, and the tackle is broken. And David Allen up near midfield.
On that matchup, Nick Lewis saying that the Edmonton secondary was scared and that he would go after Shannon Garrett. Shannon Garrett had an early knockdown. Not 1, but 2 on the out. Had him well covered there. How about this down the middle? Yeah, had some help from Will Shire, but had him covered. Nick Lewis did get this one and threw in a little stiff arm. So what do you have the score? I got 4-2.
Two catches for Lewis. And now Burris going downfield for Marte Jenkins, and a stride long on the delivery from the Calgary quarterback. You know, David Allen on the preceding play, 19 yards, and suddenly he is making an impact in this Calgary offense. We saw it last week against Winnipeg. You illustrated the big block for the Reynolds touchdown run, and a nice play out of the backfield there.
Well, versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, David Allen had 76 yards from the line of scrimmage and was a big part of the offensive game plan. And Tom Higgins saying he wants to involve him more as the playoffs come up.
2nd and 10 from the Calgary 54. Burris underneath, and that one short to Copeland. And it will be 3rd down.
Henry Burris, 6 of 13, 134 yards. The Edmonton defense is now starting to figure it out and make the adjustments necessary. Both teams offensively early on moved the ball pretty well. And now it's that chess game begins. The defense reacts, makes some changes. And now it's up to the offense as halftime approaches to go and try and add some wrinkles of their own.
2 straight good returns by Tony Tompkins, and he awaits again. Dales, a line drive, Tompkins from his 13. And the Eskimos nominee, top special teams player, gets 16 more on that return.
Here are the standings basically for the playoff teams right now. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, with their win in BC plays last night, are 9-9. They will go to the East. They knew that going into last night's game. The Edmonton Eskimos, with a win, can finish 1st. With a loss, drop to 3rd. Calgary Stampeders can host a playoff game if they win here tonight. That's what is on the line in this one.
Little history for you. 10 times in history of the West, 2 teams have tied for 1st. The Eskimos have been involved 7 times, and 5 of those times they won the tiebreaker, and they get the tiebreaker in this situation with a win here today. As they defeated the Lions 2 of 3 times head-to-head. Troy Davis was 7.
Chris, this has a very different feel to it, though, than the typical battles of Alberta that we've seen. It really does. It has a much more calculated feel to it.
Right, it's more chess match.
It is. It's more of a chess match. It's more controlled emotion. I mean, usually at Labor Day, we've had a couple of ejections by now and at least 1 or 2 fights.
2nd and 3. Davis again. George White with the tackle, but Davis shows his power and gets to the 40. And Troy Davis, who has averaged 92 yards a game since joining the Eskimos, is over halfway to 100.
Well, it's this time of year when you need your running game, and if the Edmonton Eskimos can win and host, that's where Troy Davis becomes even that much more important. If they could take that West Final, play at home in Commonwealth, running game crucial, and a north-south running game.
Clock running, about 90 seconds left. Ray has some time, and he has a man open on the far sidelines, and there's Jason Tucker.
Yeah, Ricky Ray has plenty of time here to put some points on the board before halftime. I mean, at 1:27, he doesn't have to stretch the field too far. He has plenty of time to work his entire offense, including Troy Davis.
This is close enough to require a measurement. Looks like he's actually got it as the ball crossed the 50-yard line.
The Edmonton Eskimos come into this game as well. When you talk about how it has a different feel, they come into this game ranked last in the Canadian Football League in penalties against. I mean, they've had over 1,700 yards of penalties coming into this game. And penalties in games like this, with this type of importance and this much on the line, penalties can really hurt you, obviously. And that's probably another one of the reasons we're seeing a much more calculated effort, controlled emotion between these 2 heated rivals than we have in other matchups.
The great part of the chess match is the 2 coaches were on the same side last year. They know how each other thinks. And they're working overtime today. Trevor Gaylor on that crossing route. Can he get a block and turn it upfield? Yes, he did. And he'll be pushed out at the 43 of Calgary.
The block was from Daryl Mitchell, and Trevor Gaylor had to come all the way down and all the way across the field to buy that block. Here he is on the outside. Now he's got the underneath crossing route. The Calgary Stampeders linebackers are going to get deep and take the over route by Jason Tucker. That opens up Trevor Gaylor, and he has to come all the way outside and to the opposite side of the field. And right as he gets to that sideline, he gets the block from Daryl Mitchell.
17 yards on the play. Eskimos first down, Stamp 43. And Ray looking wide side with a pump. Man open. And the catch is made by Andrew Nowacki. And the safety Trey Young brings him down. There is a flag, however.
Sheldon, the pass chuck, Chris, was lying on the ground. Dan Comiskey was working on him along with Kevin Lefsrud. And he was lying on the ground. I'm wondering if one of those two got the holding call.
Edmonton 67. 10-yard penalty. First down repeated.
You got it.
It was quite a battle. Ricky Ray had the open receiver early, but he hung on to the ball for an extra second, and that's when the flag came out. You're going to see that Lefsrud is number 65 there. He goes down, tackles him from behind. Actually, Comiskey was in pretty good position. Maybe got the wrong number there. It was more on Kevin Lefsrud than Dan Comiskey.
Top Eskimo offensive lineman this year, number 65, the center. 70 seconds remaining, first half. 1st and 20. Ray dumps it off, and it's Davis making the first man miss and drilled at the 45. As Troy Davis evaded the attempted tackle of Scott Coe.
Now that's a great move by Troy Davis. Scott Coe is an awesome tackler in the open field. And you know, the key to it for Troy Davis is to get his shoulders square. Then he has a two-way go. He made a nice move there on the open field on Scott Coe.
That last completion ties Doug Flutie's record, 466 completions on the year for Ricky Ray.
Blitz.
Ray steps up, and he'll be dropped. The ball came loose. I think the Stamps are on it. And Joey Bose's and Scott Coe up with the ball. The first turnover of the game. And a takeaway for the Stamps defense.
I thought it was Joey Bose that came on the blitz initially. He delayed it, and he's going to come from this side of your screen. So that forces Ricky Ray to step up in the pocket. Here he comes, number 23. Now he's picked up, but Ricky Ray feels him, so he steps up in the pocket. The ball comes out there. I believe it was Terrence Patrick who pulled it out. Number 93 right there on that hit. The ball is out along with Brian Clark. And Scott Coe comes up with it. And Henry Burris has some time.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Scott Coe looking forward to his first playoff game.
Hey, coach.
Told the coach he was charged up about that and that he'd play for nothing. And Tom Higgins said, well, I'm glad you're excited. Don't tell me that.
Yeah. Don't say that out loud. Because Tom Higgins may remember that come negotiation time.
Well, he's always a fiery player. 10 tackles the last time Scott Coe played against Edmonton. I don't know. It's a tight race in Calgary. Most colorful guy. Scott Coe, Nick Lewis for controversial statements and outgoing behavior. I guess Lewis has got the controversial statements and Coe's got outgoing behavior.
Yeah, a little different. Lewis has got the trash talking down. Coe's got the colorful talking. Coe's got the great hair, right? Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah, this team has some characters, and you throw in the choreographer, Jermaine Copeland, and early movement by that offensive line, and Burris spikes the ball in disgust. 48 seconds remaining here in the first half.
Well, Burris is upset because those are 48 valuable seconds, and he doesn't want to waste any.
Procedure, Calgary 50. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
And maybe more importantly, he goes from 2nd and 2 which means you can use the entire playbook to 2nd and 7, which limits it to half the playbook.
Jay McNeil called. He's the top offensive lineman with the Stampeders for the 4th time in his career. 2nd and 7. Ball dumped off and nearly picked off by A.J. Gass, who Danny Machocha says has been his most consistent defensive player all season long. Has a couple of interceptions. Should have had number 3.
You know, and there's so many good linebackers in the West. It's going to be very tough to pick an all-star team for the West Division in the linebacking core, but I'm certain that A.J. Gass will get some votes. He almost has that interception. You know, he doesn't have the numbers that some of the linebackers have. I mean, some of them playing against him today, including John Grace, George White, with just 48 tackles, but he is the heart and soul, and I think he'll get some votes.
Kind of wish that all-star ballot had room for 4 linebackers.
Yeah.
Let's play a 4-4 defense just for the all-stars. This time Tompkins surrounded and they limit the damage after the 40-yard punt.
So are you taking the safety out of the all-star team?
No, I want to go to 13 guys.
Okay.
Just to make my job easier.
Okay, I gotcha. As I was wondering which one you just bump out of there. You know, and often though.
But now that you mention it, is there really an all-star safety? I'm just kidding. Baron Miles, Welchire.
Yeah.
Maybe back in the 80s there wasn't.
Richard Carey in the East, 9 interceptions this season.
Now there's some tough choices. Orlando Steinauer. There's some candidates for the all-Canadian safety, as there are at just about every position. It's no slam dunks. Ricky Ray in this final minute. Back to Troy Davis for the record. Completion number 4, 6, 7 on the year. And it's not every day that Doug Flutie's records are broken in the Canadian Football League.
Well, Doug Flutie also with 4 of the top 6 spots. But Ken Austin always also in there. 467 and counting. We still got a half to play.
18 seconds on the clock. Ray looking wide side again. There's Nowacki, another catch, as he's taken the spot of Ed Hervey at the wideout spot, while Hervey battling the eye problem after getting poked in the eye earlier in the 2nd quarter. And Hervey trying to bring it back into focus.
Well, Ricky Ray may have one shot here. Intermediate throw, intermediate to long throw, and then the field goal team.
At the 47. Ray over the middle. Bertram. Good hit there. Supplied by Brian Clark. Coe helping fill in, and Ray calling the timeout with 6 seconds on the clock. And they're going to need
well, they need
a completion in 5 seconds or less.
Yeah, they need about 15 yards, so they need a timing route. And what I mean by that is just go down and turn out quickly. Ball in the air from Ricky Ray before the receiver turns around. The Calgary Stampeders will be playing a 4-deep type of defense. They don't want to give up a big one here, certainly, which should open that underneath area for Ricky Ray, but he's got to do it quickly. And he needs 10 to 15 pounds, or yards, I should say. Right in here is where he wants to look, and he's got to do it quickly.
I don't know, at 210, I think he looks pretty good.
Yeah, he looks fine.
There's the pass.
There it is.
The completion down quickly was Tucker, and they executed beautifully with 2 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. The perfect call and the throw. And here's what I'm talking about. Just have Jason Tucker go down and turn out. Ball's in the air right now. Tucker turns around, bam, catch, go down. We got a chance for the field goal.
Yeah, wise play by Tucker, hit the deck in a hurry.
And the Calgary Stampeders could have just let him lie there for 2 seconds without touching him.
Instead, he's downed. Time for Fleming, and he's going to have to wait because Demetrius Maxey has been shaken up, or else he's just doing his part to try and ice Sean Fleming.
Yeah, if Ricky Ray on this throw holds the ball for an extra second. I mean, think about it here. He's got to throw that timing route immediately. Now, I think Coe tried to avoid contact. And Scott Coe is a smart player. He's been around long enough to know that if he just misses Jason Tucker there, probably the half is over.
Fleming missed from 36. First miss in 11 tries, and now from 47. Trying for three to make it a three-point Calgary lead. And Fleming is going to miss, and Wilkins will bring it out. No further damage unless Wilkins can take it downfield, and that's the final play. Opening half, 2 misses by Fleming turned out to be the difference so far after 30 minutes.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Glenn. Dave Randolph, John Climbing, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan. I agree with the guys. This has been a terrible game, but I was expecting, when you consider what's on the line here,
more intensity from the Eskimos.
Little what's the word? Snot knocker. Where they're just a little more of that.
That's not in a dictionary, Dave.
It's not. It's a football term.
Yes.
Football dictionary.
It's a football dictionary.
Let's go down the line. Start with you. It's 15-9.
Well, I'll be real interested to see if both of these coaches remain constant in their approach to the game from the beginning, because with Edmonton Eskimos, they have thrown 99% of their passes right in front of the linebackers and allowing the receivers to try to get extra yards on their own. Now, very smart, because Calgary plays a lot of zone, but eventually it may have to change. With Calgary, they're throwing past the linebackers in front of the defensive backs, and they're having more success. Ray has to make some big plays in the second half, because there's going to come a time where you're going to run out of time. And with this type of game, if you cannot get some of those receivers some big plays, I don't think you can run an Edmonton Eskimo offense effectively, Jock.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, they're responding to how they played them last time and realizing they better start trying to nickel and dime them underneath. But they did go over the top one time on a play, and it's a play that Danny Machocha was running when I was in Montreal, and it's the old ladder route. And I want to show you why it's successful right here. And actually, this is Calgary, that's running the ladder route that Edmonton also runs. And here you see him climbing the ladder. He's also got an underneath coming along here. And what you want to do is create confusion in the middle. You want all guys to all pile up. And here's what happens. Edmonton guy right here, Shannon Garrett is bubbling over the top to try and get the underneath. And that is going to create big problems for Donnie Brady, who's trying to cover Jenkins, who's running the ladder. Jenkins knows if he can get through that stuff, hey, the Edmonton guy is likely to get caught up in his wake and get confused and get knocked off the ball, and it'll work perfectly there for Calgary. Edmonton and Danny Machocha needs to pull that out and start using it himself.
Yeah, it's just a deeper pick, right, John?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a planned play, and I mean, Suter likes to call it a rub defensively. We call it a pick offensively and use it all the time. In fact, every team's got 6 or 7 of those plays in their playbook. I expect to see Edmonton go back to that, but right now Calgary is swarming with their defense. Look at the people rallying to the football. You can say rallying, you can say flying, working, swarming. They are getting to the ball. And then watch John Grace. This is why he's, if not the best in the league, certainly considered the best and up for most outstanding defensive player. And watch this break in anticipation. To me, that's just raw athletic ability, and that's why the Calgary Stampeders are having so much success. In 8 quarters or 2 games of football against the Edmonton Eskimos, they've held them to 25 points or 12.5 points a game.
Offensively, the Stamps have 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown pass from Henry Burris. What did you guys say to Henry Burris? Have we not blown enough smoke?
We didn't send the flowers this week, and then
Henry, what's up? What's going on with that?
Send more flowers.
A little shot.
More flowers.
You better win now.
We got a dozen roses to Mr. Burris.
6-point Calgary lead as we head to the second half. First, let's join Jermaine Franklin.
Coach Machocha, the offense was moving the ball, just not finishing your drive.
Yeah, we just need to make a couple of plays there, especially when we're in the process of trying to come out of it with points and stay away from the penalties and the turnovers.
The field goals in these type of games, you got to make them. If they're made, the game's tied right now.
Yeah, well, they weren't made, and we're down by 6. Having said that, we'll come out and play stronger in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
67. Couple of missed field goals. The difference so far, there are the quarterback's numbers.
A lot of those numbers for both Ricky Ray and Henry Burris achieved in the first quarter. I thought the defenses in the second quarter started to make some good adjustments. Heard Danny Machocha talk about the Edmonton Eskimos being a little more productive in the red zone. In the last 2.5 games, the Edmonton Eskimos have been down inside the 20-25 yard line 7 times now. they've had 4 field goals, 3 touchdowns, all rushing touchdowns. So when they have scored in the red zone, they've got right inside the 10, 5-yard line and run the ball in.
Again, if Danny Machocha's team comes back and wins here in the second half, they finish first in the West, get the bye, host the Western final. But if Calgary prevails, the Western semi will pit these two teams again next week here at McMahon. It would be the 11th time in 20 years Edmonton and Calgary collide in the postseason. Fleming kicks it off. Wilkins fields it at the 28. Searching for a crease and not finding one.
That's an error. You know, Wilkins, if Wilkins lets that football go out of bounds, the Calgary Stampeders start at the 45-yard line, so essentially lose 15 yards of field position because Wilkins makes a bad decision on the sideline. That ball's going straight out of bounds. He catches it right at the white stripe. Then he goes all the way back across the field, really doesn't gain any yardage. So they get it on the 32 rather than the 45.
And Wilkins replaying the miscue in his mind as Calgary goes to work on offense. Joffrey Reynolds to the 37 has 5, wrapped up by Singer Mobley, the leading tackler on the Edmonton Eskimos.
So what did Steve Barato do at halftime to make some adjustments to the defense the Edmonton Eskimos showed them in the second quarter? He does have 2 touchdowns. They've not had to settle for a field goal in that first half. See what adjustments he's made.
Second down. That pass skipping incomplete, intended for Kenyon Rambo, who has yet to catch a pass this afternoon, and Tim Fleiser turned up the heat on Henry Burris.
Tim Fleiser is asked to play a lot of different spots, and Kelly Wilshire comes to the outside, and that's why Henry Burris knows that he's got the one-on-one, but he doesn't have time to get it there because of Tim Fleiser.
The Montreal native who blocked a punt here on Labor Day and resulted in an Eskimo touchdown. Not out there now, though, as Kirkdale's punts it away. Tompkins at his 34. And whoa! Scott Divert with the low bridge, and Tompkins gets nailed.
Play Safeway $1 Million Touchdown to win. If your name appears, you've won a trip for 2 to the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. Flights courtesy of BelAirTravel.com. Swipe your club card at Safeway today.
Hey football fans, vote for the Rogers Player of the Game and you can win a VIP trip to Grey Cup with backstage access at the Rogers CFL Player Awards. Or great game day prizes like a Rogers pay-as-you-go phone package. To enter, grab your Rogers wireless phone, type the first letter of your player's city and his jersey number, then send to Go CFL. Or vote at CFL.ca. Vote for today's Rogers Player of the Game during the fourth quarter.
Wendy's CFL Fantasy Football has returned. Challenge Russ Jackson and me, Michael Landsberg, each week with 2 great games. Pick the winners and the Pick 10 Challenge, where you can be a fantasy GM. Register free all season long for a chance to win a Sony 42-inch Grand Vega TV or the Ultimate Dream Workshop from Porter Cable. Great weekly and monthly prizes are also up for grabs. Think you know Canadian football? Prove it. Get to FSN.ca and sign up for Wendy's CFL Fantasy Football now.
Last season, Purelator Tackle Hunger raised 109 tons of food for Canadian Food Bank. That is equal to 80 truckloads. When a CFL quarterback gets sacked, Purelator delivers his weight in food to the home team's food bank. Purelator Tackle Hunger.
The First Down Line is brought to you by Chevrolet for all life's roads.
Great look at the top Canadian on that Calgary Stampeders team, Sheldon Napaschuk. 8 quarterback sacks, a career high, and part of a very stubborn Stamps defense here so far. First down, Eskimos. Davis. Troy Davis into the secondary, up to the 48-yard line.
It's a great move where Troy Davis hits the line of scrimmage, and he'll hesitate just slightly and just long enough to fool a tackler coming in. Scott Coe is going to come from this side of your screen, and watch how he just hesitates. Troy Davis gets it here. He'll hesitate right there and then burst. And that burst outruns the angle of Scott Coe's tackle.
15 yards for Davis in his 4th game in the Eskimo offense. Short drop, and now Ray has to reload, and he'll throw this one away. Good pressure being applied there by Brian Clark.
Well, for Danny Machocha calling the plays from the sideline in the first half, the very first drive of the game resulted in their only touchdown. Since then, it's not been quite as successful. 1 turnover, 4 punts, and a couple of missed field goals from Sean Fleming, who was perfect for 2 straight games.
Second and 10. And out of the pocket, a throw for Tucker, who laid out, couldn't bring it in. Incomplete, and that will cue Sean Fleming from the sidelines to come in and punt on 3rd down.
Very similar to the play that Tucker caught just before the end of the first half. Bose is going to drop to the zone. So he jams, drops out into the zone, and now it's a race to the football. Tucker gets there. He just can't pull it in as he goes out of bounds. And maybe that jam from Joey Bose, one of the reasons Tucker couldn't quite get there.
High but not deep on the punt from Fleming. And Wilkins, well, he's 0 for 2 in the second half. And loses 5 on that return.
There's a lot to consider when you think about attending college or university. Where to go, what to take, where to live. Will you make new friends? What doors will it open? And how are you, a graduating high school student, going to find help paying for it all? Introducing Wendy's Classic Achiever Scholarship Awards, helping Canada's most well-rounded students pursue their post-secondary dreams. For more information or to apply, wendysclassicachiever.ca.
Oh, and here they are now, the nominees for Best New Fashion in Denim. It's way out of your league, girl, for Old Navy boy cut denim. It's Who Knew She Was So Cute for boy cut denim. I know why you're so cute. And girl you broke up with, it was the biggest mistake of your life for boy cut denim. Get over here, you. The cut says boy, but the look is all girl. I should have worn jeans. Get glam for the holidays with Old Navy boy cut denim, only $34.50.
Well, a classy halftime ceremony here at McMahon Stadium honoring the 13-year career of center Jamie Crysdale. There was a little bit of emotion and, well, maybe the most poignant moment when the team came back out and every player embraced Jamie Crysdale, who's standing by with Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. Jamie Crysdale right here. 13-year career, all with the Stampeders, 210 consecutive games, a touching ceremony at the half.
Yeah, you know, I can't say enough about this organization. They've done this thing first class for me to help me go out on a positive note, and it was amazing being out here today.
Can you talk a little bit about the past few years? You've contemplated retirement, but you didn't want to leave the team the way it was. Since it's doing so well, does it make it a little easier?
Well, you know, I wish Higgins and those guys had gotten here 3 years ago, so it would have made it a lot better. But, you know, I guess in a weird way, it was good to experience those bad times because it makes you appreciate all the really good times we've had here. And, you know, it's just been great to be a part of this team. You know, it's been an awkward year physically for myself, but it's been great.
Thanks and congratulations on a great career. And that's Bella. She may have a future in the media, guys.
Thanks very much.
Yep, somebody wanted to take the mic and
steal the spotlight.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Dad had the spotlight for 13 years, snapping to the likes of Doug Flutie and Jeff Garcia, Dave Dickinson, who was on the big screen here at McMahon Stadium with his tribute. Henry Burris.
And Jamie Crosdale, you know, not just a tremendous player and his numbers and all the great years he played and all the quarterbacks that played behind him, but a good guy. And he's one of the real good guys in the league.
There's Nick Lewis, so just the scorecard, if you please, as Lewis makes a key first down catch here early in the third quarter.
Well, I'm gonna have to look at the coverage first now, just before I completely change, because I see Shannon Garrett here. Now let's see what Shannon Garrett does on the play. He goes on the blitz, so that doesn't go on the Shannon Garrett Nick Lewis scorecard.
Okay, but that's rough on Lewis.
But he did get the catch.
Here's a pitch. David Allen to the 45, and Allen has 5. Just his 10th carry as a Calgary Stampeder.
Home field playoff game on the line for the Calgary Stampeders. A chance for first place and the bye to the Western Final on the line for the Edmonton Eskimos.
2nd and 5. 6 receivers out. There's Lewis in front of Garrett. A catch and another first down, and that one will be adjusted on the scorecard.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That goes now 4-3, Shannon Garrett. And Nick Lewis looks like he's got a little jump in his step in this second half. I mean, Garrett went on that blitz, so he caught the one over the middle, but no question, man-to-man defense there. Nick Lewis going inside and make a nice inside move on Shannon Garrett, who's been trying to take away inside position for most of this game. He gets in there, but look how Nick Lewis uses his body to keep Shannon Garrett away from the football.
Punch formation right side. And Burris rolling that way. And throwing, and it's complete. Marte Jenkins, a burst. He'll score. Oh, he turned on the afterburners.
Did he ever? Again, Henry Burris outside the pocket. Joe Mumford buys the fake to Joffrey Reynolds. Right here, Mumford's going to come in here, and around comes Henry Burris. He gets outside. And talk about a 5th gear from Marte Jenkins. Objects in the review mirror may appear closer than they actually are. He is gone.
A 50-yard burst, his biggest play of the year. DeAngelis has the extra point. In the Calgary Stampeders scheme of things, with his 25th catch of the year and touchdown number 4.
It all starts with Henry Burris being able to break contain again. And when he gets outside, he's so dangerous and puts a bind on the defense because he could run. He has the option to run at any time. That will freeze the defensive secondary, which they did, and Marte Jenkins just ran by them all.
Henry Burris now with 22 touchdown tosses for the season. DeAngelis to kick it off. And the Nebraska product, Darren Diedrich. Up to the 33-yard line. Met there by George White. And he's just not impressive on defense, but on special teams as well. His 20th special team tackle.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, one of the votes I had this year was for George White as an all-star. Because not only has he led this team in tackles, he's also led this team in special teams tackles. And then when you look at what George White is asked to do game in and game out, that's just not tackling running backs and playing like linebackers normally play up there in the box. He's asked to cover receivers. So, you know, occasionally George White will be on G. Roy Simon, Milt Stiegel.
Last 3 weeks, the Stamps have provided the Defensive Player of the Week. 2 of those weeks, it was George White. There's a completion. Ed Hervey has refocused. He's back in the Edmonton scheme and has a first down catch at the 45.
Back in the lineup, he runs that timing out. Ricky Ray has to get rid of it. Gets a little pressure. Scott Coe comes from the outside. He works his way around, and Raheem Abdullah up the middle.
Troy Davis, Scott Coe, and George White bring him down, but it's a gain of 7 or 8 more for Davis. Well on his way to 100.
See how he freezes? You see how he freezes the tacklers again with that little stutter step just as he's receiving the football. And it causes the tackler to hold for a second, thinking he may cut back on him. And as he hits the line, he just stutters. Watch, he's just behind the goalpost. Here he goes. A little stutter step right there. That just gives him enough time, and this time it's Brian Clark.
Bertrand the plunge to midfield, should have the first down. And midway through the third quarter, with the lead 13, a critical drive starting, at least being established here by the Eskimos.
You know, both these teams are good football teams, and the Edmonton Eskimos certainly are, but you're right, this drive is crucial for them. And I've got to be honest, I'm a little surprised at the, and I'm going to call it lack of intensity from the Edmonton Eskimos. I honestly thought with first place right there in their graphs, we would see a little more fire out of this football team. I mean, there's still lots of game to be played, and the talent is there. But I just haven't seen the emotion that the Edmonton Eskimos have shown us over the last 3 wins.
You know, they come in with a 3-game win streak. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're playing their arch rivals. They got a big reprieve last night when Saskatchewan beat BC. But they have been an offense in transition. Here's a pass completed, and Jason Tucker has the catch at the Calgary 42.
Well, that's a tough catch for Jason Tucker, and that's enough. Those are the type of plays, not the touchdown, not the long, fancy-looking touchdown plays that you know, basically put you in the paper, those plays. But let's see when they break the huddle. Are they running to the line of scrimmage? Well, Lefsrud is. Kevin's Lefsrud did. Comiskey was kind of up there. He kind of walked up, and Beaton kind of walked up. Let's watch him walk. Now they're coming. See, that Tucker catch got the old line going.
A little spring in their step there. The ground started to shake. And it is picked off. It's Jermaine Chapman, and nobody's going to catch him. And as fast as they walked up to the line, Jermaine Chapman took it back a whole lot quicker.
And now every one of those offensive linemen are making their way walking to the sideline. Jermaine Chapman read that baby from the start. This is film work. And people always wonder why. You know, what do you do when you watch all that game film for hours and hours? What you're trying to do is find tendencies. When this receiver lines up here, what play do they like to run? We've seen Daryl Mitchell run that hitch play twice in this game. This time Jermaine Chapman sees it one more time and says, I'm taking it.
Third interception of the year for Chapman, his first CFL touchdown. A touchdown pass Ricky Ray didn't want to throw.
Great news! It's the Euro-Winner event, October 12th to November 8th only. Register your project at any participating Rona store and get a rebate worth up to $450. Not only will you be helping out athletes on the Canadian Olympic team, you could also win a trip to the 2006 Winter Games in Torino. So what are you waiting for? Let the renovations begin. Make it happen with Rona, the how-to people.
They say power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. We couldn't agree more. Get Quattro Power. Turn on the power of 4.
A moment, if you please. Moments can be short. Moments can be long. There are moments of joy, moments of sorrow, moments of passion. Moments you'll never forget, moments you've already forgotten, moments you didn't get. There are awkward moments, senior moments, moments of truth, and momentary lapses in judgment. People will ask for a moment, share a moment. I need a moment, you got a moment. Hey, wait a moment. You can take a moment, make a moment, spoil a moment. And if all the stars align at just the right moment, that moment can be perfect. Moments can define you, moments can delight you, and moments can change your life. Here's to the moment, and squeezing all you can out of every last single one of them. Pursue the moment. Lexus, the pursuit of perfection.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Holiday Inn Hotels. Stay connected to the office with free high-speed internet. Enter now at cfl.ca/Holiday Inn for a chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup.
22nd interception tossed by Ricky Ray this year, and none maybe larger than that one.
I think the Edmonton Eskimos the BC Lions are cheering right now.
Yeah, there's more than one happy group of fans right now. That ball loose, but the Eskimos get back on it. That could have been a lethal blow, but Glenn Young preserves the football. Look at this guy. Jermaine Chapman again creating havoc.
Well, here's what he sees, okay? He's seen this a couple times, and the giveaway for Daryl Mitchell is, first of all, where he lines up, and then when he bubbles like that. Watch how Daryl Mitchell comes to the line. As soon as he bubbles like that, Jermaine Chapman has seen that twice already in the game, and this time he went downhill and said, I'm taking it. Now, the way you avoid that offensively is you throw in a play where Daryl Mitchell fakes it and goes down the field. They hadn't done that, so Chapman takes it. And here's that fumble.
Joey Bose with first contact. Look at Chapman after the ball again. You know, the guys we're talking about, players that were overlooked for All-Star consideration. And Jermaine Chapman, had he not broken his jaw and missed 5 games, might be one of those guys because he's really become a fixture in a hurry in this Calgary secondary.
And they bounced him around for a while early in the season to find their spots.
Now the Eskimos really need a response. Out of the backfield, Mike Maurer. Oh, what a great cup on this field with the BC Lions in 2000.
You know, and in fairness to Ricky Ray on that interception, Ricky Ray is throwing the play that's he's designed to throw, and he can't telegraph it by looking at it immediately. So he cannot bank on Jermaine Chapman coming downhill that fast. He's got to figure that the defensive secondary's got to respect his other receivers. Chapman did his homework in the film room, saw it in the game, and took it.
2nd and 2. And Maurer carries the ball for a first down, but this Edmonton offense has not been able to stretch Calgary's D at all. Their longest completion of the game, 17 yards.
Well, once again, the game plan for Calgary against Danny Machocha is to take away Jason Tucker deep, take away Ed Hervey deep, make Ricky Ray be patient with Troy Davis and underneath throws and see if he can put 12, 14 plays together.
2 touchdowns for Edmonton in the last 9 quarters against Calgary. Underneath, Mike Maurer. 3rd straight play of the ball has been in his hands. He has a first down at the Edmonton 48.
Yeah, and you know when Mike Maurer is becoming the primary target that the secondary are doing their jobs. I mean, this is an Edmonton football team with Jason Tucker, Daryl Mitchell, Ed Hervey, Trevor Gable. But full credit to the Calgary secondary, because if you're dumping the ball to Mike Maurer, and no disrespect to Mike Maurer, but if he's catching 3 in a row, that secondary is shutting down the receiving play.
And they go straight ahead again. And this time Bertrand. And it's going to be close, and this probably will require a measurement.
Yeah, I don't want to get fullbacks in the league all upset with me when I say that you don't want your fullback becoming a primary target, because it is an effective play as a changeup to dump it off to a Bertrand or a Mike Maurer and have him on a screen or screen draw or some of those little dump passes. But especially in the case for the Edmonton Eskimos right now, down by 20, and they have to start picking up yardage in chunks.
The 3rd and inches for Danny Machocha. Minutes left in the 3rd quarter. Plenty of time, but clearly the Eskimos have not been able to solve this Calgary defense so far. Ray will give them a new set of downs across the 50. reminder that for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to help a local food bank. Every sack helps Purolator tackle hunger across Canada. This was a much anticipated showdown for the sack plaque. We haven't had a sack yet. It's still Calgary by 1. Brent Johnson almost single-handedly gave BC the shot last night with his 4 sacks.
Demetrius Maxey was vocal talking about wanting that sack plaque.
He's had a couple with Toronto. Ray underneath, there's Herbie. Another crosser, got a block, and now out of bounds at the first down stick. He's into Calgary turf.
Yeah, but
Stamp 50.
Chris, sorry, I would say that this is exactly what the Calgary Stampeders want the Edmonton Eskimos to do. I mean, they will live with this for the rest of the game. Crossing route here, crossing route there, throw it in front of the linebackers, and basically the Calgary Stampeders now have 8 tacklers to stop Ed Hervey from getting to the end zone. He picks up good yardage, he picks up a first down, but that plays right into the Calgary defense.
You saying you can't be as patient now because you're down by 20?
I think you got to start picking up yards in bunches.
Denny Crean, the architect, looking on. Ray stretching it, and Jason Tucker can't run under it. And Ray under heavy duress again.
You know, Jason Tucker got kind of caught up. I believe again it was Jermaine Chapman. He's running the corner on, and receivers love when they come out of their break. In order to be able to find the football, they got to be clean when they come out of their break. If they can come out of their break clean, they got a chance to run it down. But see how he gets in there? He kind of stumbles around a little bit. Chapman doesn't really even make any contact, but he doesn't really open up clean, and Ricky Ray pays the price at the other end.
Randy Chevrier was there, along with John Grace. 3rd and 1. And Ray driven back. Forward progress should be enough before Bose and Grace tossed him backwards.
But again, the attempt deep for Danny Machocha and Ricky Ray is a corner route to Jason Tucker. And once again, we've seen the Calgary defense shut that play down. And we saw Ben Kelly early on in the first half run straight to the corner. Denny Crehan's defense right now has done their homework in the film room. Of course, these two teams know each other very well anyway.
There's a first down by half the length of the football.
And just that last play, Tucker just somehow didn't get out of his break cleanly, or he may be able to run it down. Let's take one more look at him. Chapman's going to turn. That's the speed turn to get back. See Tucker, well, you know, from that angle, it looked like he didn't stumble as much as I thought he did.
But again, Ray was under heavy pressure. Now dumps it off. Davis lowers the boom, crosses the 40, and should be close to the first down. Trying to stay to the methodical game plan.
Well, I'd be real surprised because Danny Machocha and the great offensive mind that he is, you know, the next step is Jason Tucker to fake to that corner and go down the middle. You know, go straight down the middle. Or try and get Daryl Mitchell out there in the flat and fake it to him and go deep to an Ed Hervey.
Well, they've out first down Calgary by a considerable margin, but teams that play the 3-4 defense of Calgary and Toronto seem to say the same thing. You would seem to move the ball, we just don't score.
Yeah, they do a nice job of making you be patient. And while you're being patient, your quarterback's getting hit.
Well, they're only to the Calgary 40, and they've already executed 10 plays on this drive. Excuse me, this will be the 10th play. And over 5 minutes of the clock have been burned off on the drive. 2nd and 1, and they're taking another shot. Tucker drops it. Oh, Ricky Ray put it on the money. And the money receiver dropped the ball.
Well, and they went corner again. I mean, once again, it's Jason Tucker on his favorite route. And I'm wondering when Jason Tucker's going to fake there and come in here. But once again, Tucker goes over to the corner, and he is open. He freezes Trey Young, and Trey Young might have been thinking a couple plays ahead, thinking he's got to come to the post sooner or later because he froze him, and then he just dropped the ball.
And so now third, and less than a yard, Ray met by John Grace, and Ricky Ray should have it again. We could go through passes thrown to Jason Tucker all year, and there would be a very short highlight reel of drops.
Oh, see how he frees him? He's got Trey Young's hips turned to the inside. And when your hips are turned inside as a defensive back, you're opening to that direction, and you can make a smooth transition to the middle. But if your hips are turned that way, you can't get back out in a smooth fashion to the outside. That's why Tucker beat him. He just didn't finish the play.
Clearly another first down for the Eskimos.
And Trey Young is not going to cover as much as Jermaine Chapman or Joey Bose. Bose and Chapman are the halfbacks, and they will be matched up on Tucker and spend a lot more time in one-on-one with Tucker than Trey Young from the safety spot. So Ricky Ray got the matchup he wanted. He just didn't get the finish from his go-to guy.
Tucker 22 yards away from taking over the league lead in receiving for the year. First down, Ray with time. Another crosser. It's Gaylord. And Gaylord will be stopped just short of the 30. And he has 8 to 9. A reminder that in the fourth quarter, you can text message your vote and vote for the Rogers Player of the Game. Use your Rogers phone and send to Go CFL. And Jermaine Chapman in contention after the biggest play of the second half.
Nice interception for a touchdown for Jermaine Chapman.
6-point lead at the half, but Marte Jenkins offensively, Chapman defensively with scores. And now Mauer can't bring it in, but there's a late hit on Ricky Ray. Grace and Co. are pleading innocence. And which one of them drew the flag from Dave Ewell?
Major foul.
Well, they're
roughing
waiting.
the passer.
Scott Coe.
Coe's right there at the bottom of the screen. Grace is right beside him. He comes through the A-gap. Troy Davis misses him. Coe gets the push. Wasn't much, but he did push him. Yeah, I agree with you. And my partner's up here looking like,
I guess,
what was that?
I guess the wince doesn't really show it on TV, but
no,
but,
I agree with you. It's,
you know,
they want to protect
debate
the
those.
quarterbacks.
You're right.
Yeah. And we've had that debate many times. I mean, Carl Kidd is probably standing up in his chair watching this one right now in Vancouver saying, oh boy, I did less than that and got called. Yep. And it has happened, but they are consistent in trying to protect the quarterbacks.
Eskimos get a major reprieve here. Last play, third quarter. Fake to Davis. Mauer in the flat. Lowers his helmet and drives. And now more flags. Is that another late hit? Close to a first down initially.
I think Joey Bose is going to get called. He's the third man in.
And that's another game, isn't it?
And
third man in.
And it looked like it's not quite that season yet.
And in this case, the good thing is he doesn't get kicked out.
I know they're playing hockey, but for you, I mean, there it is right there, Bose, right on the sideline.
First down, half the distance, end of the quarter.
And that is the end of the third quarter. Eskimos threatening, and they need a score soon. 20-point Calgary lead. Brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
You know, if you looked at first downs and you looked at total yardage, you'd think the Edmonton Eskimos would be the team in the lead, and it would be a close game. They may make it closer here.
First and goal from the 3. Davis doesn't get there, holding on. Abdullah, Maxey. Second and goal from the 2.
But that's why those numbers don't always tell the story. You hear that all the time. Stats don't always tell the story. You see the numbers and you see the time of possession for Edmonton, the first downs for Edmonton, but the numbers that really matter are the numbers up here on the scoreboard. Calgary 29, Edmonton, the team with a chance for first place in the West, 9. Now knocking on the ball.
Eskimos ready to change that score. Ricky Ray is in, it would appear, and yes, there's the signal from Dave Ewell.
He took a second.
Did he ever? And that caps a lengthy Edmonton Eskimo drive.
Well, it was aided by 2 penalties. A very questionable late hit on the quarterback call on Scott Coe. And then a late hit on the sideline, Mike Maurer, from Joey Bose. And they cap it off with Ricky Ray over the top of the pile.
Fleming adds the extra point. 16 plays, 81 yards, over 6 minutes to get
to the woods.
Yeah.
Maple Ridge guy, I believe, and
former member of your team.
Yeah, that was a good trade. Did we mess that one up?
It was good if you're a Bruin fan.
Yeah, I guess.
David Allen twisting his way up across the 35-yard line. And now the Eskimos defense needs to stop this man and get the ball right back.
Well, it's a big series for the Edmonton defense, maybe bigger for Henry Burris, because if you can come up with an answer, if you're the Calgary Stampeders, even if it's a field goal, this is a type of drive that can basically seal the deal for you. On the other hand, 1 touchdown by the Edmonton Eskimos and a 2-and-out can turn into a couple of touchdowns very quickly in the Canadian Football League. That switch of momentum happens in a heartbeat.
Just over a minute into our final quarter of the season here on Wendy's TSN Football, and Nick Lewis has the football in front of Shannon Garrett, his biggest play of the game.
First of all, Henry Burris sells the deal by holding the ball out on the fake, and he holds it out for a split second. I'm going to show you this. Watch Burris right here hold the ball out in this area to show the defense and freeze the defense second. He holds it out there. Now he comes back down the middle, and you're right. Nick Lewis was in behind Shannon Garrett in 1-on-1, and Garrett did not get the help he needed from Kelly Wilshire.
Over 100 yards for Lewis, 37 on that grab. Joffrey Reynolds down to the 30-yard line.
Well, now that Nick Lewis has 100 yards and that big catch in a key situation, we can say that he is walking it like he talked to.
Yes, he is. 4th 100-yard season of the year. And I want to bring up a conversation we had on the way over. Not campaigning for him, but Henry Burris, with another performance today, I really think is getting no consideration and should get consideration for all-star honors at quarterback. Nobody's talked about him. Boy, he is really rounding into form with this offense.
Well, you know, it may be too late, and some of the votes already may be in, but I don't disagree with the way he's played down the stretch. I think what hurt Henry Burris when he talked about outstanding player and all-star nominations is he got off to a slow start. First couple of games were wobbly. Then he missed 3.5 games due to injury. So, you know, if you consider that, you got to consider Dave Dickinson's numbers. He missed a lot of games. And I think that's what hurt Henry Burris.
Whoa! A miscue there. And Mobley's on the football. The Eskimos, when it looked like they were going to give up more points, come up with a much-needed turnover on a major Calgary gaffe.
Oh, yeah, and that's just the Edmonton Eskimos dodging it.
Linebacker gives Edmonton the ball back. Ray hit as he delivers, and the ball falls short of the target, Trevor Gaylord. What happened on that fumble?
The play that Henry Burris called in the huddle, Joffrey Reynolds didn't hear, or Henry Burris ran a play he didn't call in the huddle, because if he's going to run the pitch, Joffrey Reynolds will move like that. Joffrey Reynolds moves like that. And when Burris turns around, Reynolds is looking for a block, and the ball goes right past him. We're not in that huddle. We're not sure if Henry Burris called the play and Reynolds didn't get it, or vice versa.
2nd and 10. There's Ray underneath, and stretching out is Tucker.
Yeah, and if I'm Ricky Ray, I'm going right back to Jason Tucker in key situations. And after that one drop in the third quarter, you go back to a guy like Tucker because he'll make up for it. He'll make up for it with something spectacular.
They're about a yard short. I just wanted to make the point that Calgary not only gave away the ball, but negated a surefire field goal opportunity that would have given them a 16-point lead, would have made it 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point converts, and now it remains a 13-point lead.
Which means 2 converted touchdowns gives the lead to the Edmonton Eskimos with plenty of time to go. But the clock is a factor now for Ricky Ray. He's got to get in and out of that huddle a little bit quicker.
3rd and less than a yard. Had a lot of these in the second half for Edmonton. And once again, they're able to convert.
Other than the first drive, the only drive that the Edmonton Eskimos really have been able to punch in the end zone were aided by penalty.
First down, Eskimos.
Last week, their longest play was 36 yards against the BC Lions. And again, today, it has been very tough to stretch this Calgary defense. 17 yards, the biggest play. Ray looking for more now. And Herbie off his hands. It's picked off. Joey Bose's got it. And Bose is finally down to the 45-yard line. 3rd turnover, 2nd interception. Tossed by Ray.
Well, they had Ed Herbie blitz coming from the Calgary Stampeders. They sent John Grace. He's one of the linebackers that are coming. I believe Scott Colson. Well, here comes George White. There's John Grace. So pressure's on its way from the Calgary defense. Ricky Ray gets to throw in there to Ed Herbie right off his shoulder pads and helmet. Up in the air, Joey Bose gets it. Now, we've said during the year for receivers, fundamentally, you got to catch the football with your hands. If it gets to your pads or your helmet, this can happen.
Well, they missed Bose for much of the first half of the season. Here's David Allen. And he's finally collared by Kelly Wiltshire at the Edmonton 46. And they could smell it on that Calgary sideline.
Well, not only they can smell, they're thinking about we're at home. That's what they're thinking about. Not only, you talked earlier on, Chris, about Scott Coates saying, you know, he's looking forward to his first playoff game. That's not the only thing they're excited about. They get that first playoff game at home if they can hang on here.
They have been under the radar, as Tom Higgins put it, for much of the year. But the spotlight is going to be shining brightly on this team if this score is not altered in the final 9.5 minutes by Edmonton.
Well, and the BC Lions right now who are watching this game, and you know they are, this is not the way they wanted to win first place. I know that, but they'll take it. I mean, this is a very important game for them as well.
You saw that graphic. Stampeders 10-1 when they've been even or on the plus side of turnovers in a game. They're +2 in this game.
I promise you that. I promise you that.
Burris over the middle and wide open. David Allen again to the 20.
See what David Allen did at the end of that play? That's a heads-up football play for David Allen. Calgary Stampeders have a chance to really seal the deal with a score here. Allen knows he has first down yardage, and he's a guy who, when you get in the open field, he's going to want to make everybody miss. But he plays heads-up football because rather than try and break every tackle, he'll cover it up. He comes in from the bunch, and watch, he's going to open up, number 32. Step out, cut in on that little V route, and then he wraps up the football at the end of the play.
First down for us. There's Nick Lewis. Garrett watching, can't catch it. Touchdown!
On Shannon Garrett.
Off turnovers for the Stampeders, and they look look like they are destined to host the Western Semi.
And like David Allen, a heads-up play by Nick Lewis at the end because he switches the football from his right hand to his left hand. And that may be a subtle move, but that protects the football from Shannon Garrett. Then he gets in the end zone. And that should seal the deal.
And you know what? This game didn't go to the scorecard after all. He's going to win it with a knockout.
Yeah. Shannon Garrett had him covered early on, but in this second half, Nick Lewis has stepped it up.
And Garrett may have pulled a muscle on that play. He's down, getting attention.
Boy, I mean, when you read the paper and exactly what Nick Lewis had said, I mean,
he's done.
Those were
He's done.
He's getting it done.
When I say something, I do it, and he's done.
And you got to give him marks for that. You know, we were reflecting before the game. How many players and how many times you've heard the boast before the game and them silenced
one day
after the
I do
game.
him in. Today's is my day.
But he's backed it up today.
Yeah, he sure has. And I've seen it a lot, Chris. And you know, we were talking about before the game, when you make it personal by saying something in the paper, well, it's fun for everybody, and we love it, especially when we're doing a game and we can talk about it coming out of the gate. But it also makes it personal for the opposition, and we've seen it backfire many times, and not often. I mean, you get the Joe Namath kind of night where you say you're going to do it, you go out and do it, you talk trash, and you walk it like you talk it. Nick Lewis did it tonight.
9th touchdown of the year for Lewis. DeAngelis for the extra point. And it has been an emphatic performance by these Stampeders. Burris with 3. A good return to the 52 midway through this fourth quarter.
I mean, it was some serious trash talk to me. It was top-notch trash talk. He went after Shannon Garrett, said he couldn't cover him. Not only that, he said just like Saskatchewan, so he's tied the Saskatchewan Roughriders secondary into it too. Their DBs fear us. They really do. They know they can't hold us. They're really scared. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that when you want to go into the trash talking categories. And over 100 yards, seals the deal with that last touchdown. 131 for Nick Lewis.
And knowing the way he struts, he'd love to get a shot at Saskatchewan, but he'd have to wait for the Grey Cup for that. Brian Clark nails Ray. Ball down, and the ruling play was dead.
Well, the one thing that we will see is the rematch, because these two teams in 1 week play in the semifinal in the same place.
Glenn, they're calling this an incompletion. Let's have another look.
Brian Clark on the stunt comes around, and his arm was going forward, Ricky Ray.
And you're right, you know, as we watch whether or not that arm came forward decisively or not. But we were saying before the game, either way, whoever wins if you were in a back-to-back situation, it'd be tough to beat the same opponent twice in a row. And then again with the Saskatchewan win last night, if Edmonton had won, that would have taken away the back-to-back series.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you say that, like, you know, if you lose the first game, not a big deal because, you know, you're playing in the playoffs where it's more important and you can't win the back. You know, that's good to talk about. But I want to quote Wally Buono on that one. Nothing good comes from losing. And because Wally Buono knows his team has been struggling. One loss turns into 2 losses, could turn into 3 losses. That's the problem with it.
And 6 of 7 in the case of the Lions.
Yeah.
That ball will bounce out of bounds at the Calgary 24, 6:40 to play.
We just flew WestJet, and there's a few things we wanted to tell you.
WestJet's always on the move with 35 great destinations.
And you get your own live satellite feedback TV right in front of you, so you don't have to watch what they do. And when you fly WestJet, they'll never overbook your flight. Never.
Let's put our hands together for WestJet, official airline of the CFL.
fake on the option, and Burris hangs on, gets to the 30.
And you wonder maybe if Henry Burris should be in the game at this point.
I was going to suggest that you might get that Battle of Alberta overtone that you were looking for in the first half now, because they'll be trying to set a tone for next week if this game isn't already decided.
Well, Henry Burris just is on top of his game. I mean, he cannot have played any better over his last 4 games.
Finished strong last year. Great performance in the Western Final. And this offense maturing. That pass behind Copeland. And there's a great weapon that really has not been exploited today.
Take a look, Chris, so at the last 4 games for Henry Burris, preparing his football team, his offensive football team for the playoff run. 9 touchdowns, has not thrown an interception now in 4 straight games. That fumble was the pitch where they just had the miscue in the backfield to pitch to Joffrey Reynolds. So he really hasn't even dropped the ball, literally dropped the ball. So just as close to perfect from the quarterback position as you can be.
Craver's back at the 32. And Craver run out of bounds there. 5 minutes, 26 seconds to play. And the TSN football crew want to extend our sympathies to the family of Don Moss, our technical director. Don's father, Gordon, passed away. And our thoughts and prayers with you, Don, and your family at this time. Well, Tom Higgins, again, talked about under the radar. No longer. They are in a position here where you might have to make them the favorites in the West.
You know, you do. I think you do. The way they played down the stretch, the way they played against this rival.
Pick up Trey Young. And it's getting worse for the Eskimos. Young to the 2. And this defense that's smothered is now going for the kill. 4th interception of the year for the safety, Trey Young, who has certainly carved out a spot in this very impressive defense.
And he's playing down in the hole. See, they rolled Joey Bosse back in there to the safety spot, and that confuses Ricky Ray, because then they bring Trey Young down into the curl area. It's just a rotation of the defense. There's Bosse. That brings Trey Young down, and it fools Ricky Ray. He's expecting Trey Young to be deep middle. He's not deep middle. He's sitting down there in the curl, and he takes that one back.
So the turnovers now, 4 takeaways. First and goal from the 2. Reynolds. Big collision there. Charbonneau in the midst of it. Kelly Wiltshire.
You know, the other good news for the Calgary Stampeders and their fans, considering they face Edmonton in the semifinal, is Ray. Now, when you throw the interception, you have to go and try and make the tackle, and that's like, yeah, this is not the best night at the office for number 15. But the other good news for the Calgary Stampeders, Joffrey Reynolds got going in this game because he struggled against the Edmonton defense. 53 yards for Reynolds along the ground and 10 carries.
2nd and goal. Burris to throw. No, Burris to run. Touchdown, penalty marker on the play. There is a flag. We'll wait to find out.
We'll see what the penalty is, but it wasn't a fumble from Henry Burris, because the ball crossed the plane. I believe when he hit the ground is when the ball came out.
Well, he touched her down, I think.
Illegal contact on the receiver. Edmonton 13. The penalty is declined. Touchdown.
So the BC Lions will host the Western Final. The Calgary Stampeders will host the Western Semifinal.
And the BC Lions owe the Calgary Stampeders a nice thank you card.
I'm not sure that'll happen.
No.
I don't know.
It'd be a nice touch.
It would be, but I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait by the mailbox if I was Tom Higgins.
Sandro DeAngelis adds the extra point. What a night here in Calgary.
Who protecting the football down the stretch and in the playoffs. Giveaway, takeaway, if you can win that in the giveaway, takeaway category, and every one of them saying we'll see them in our house next week.
Calgary will be 11-1 when winning that takeaway battle. And it wasn't that long ago when Tom Higgins lamented the fact his defense wasn't causing turnovers. Well, look now, 4 today, 53 on the year. Only Montreal has created more turnovers than the Calgary Stampeder defense. Darren Dietrich up to the 40-yard line. And for the first time this season, Jason Moss, who passed for over 5,000 yards last year, will come in to relieve Ricky Ray.
Talk about a backup quarterback who last season threw for 5,000 yards. This season has not taken a snap. Said it right off the opening of the show. Ricky Ray, the only quarterback in the CFL this year to go wire to wire, and it'll be wire to wire short of 3 minutes 21 seconds.
And here's Moss to throw underneath. Troy Davis pounding the midfield.
And you see Jason Moss in his first snap in 2005 gets a little taste of what Ricky Ray has seen all season long. And the one concern I think the Edmonton Eskimos have more than any is protecting their quarterback as these playoffs are a week away.
3-minute warning given to the benches here. Well, the American viewers have been watching. We got a chance in hockey to be in Denver and New York in the last few weeks, and folks in the MSG network and also Altitude talking about how much they enjoyed the games this summer.
You know, it's one of the unique things about Canadian football is the fact that the rosters are made up of basically half Americans, half Canadians. We call them imports, but 99.9% are from the United States, so they have all their families watch the games, and I know we have a great following that continues to grow in the United States, and I want to thank all the viewers that are watching south of the border to our neighbors south. It's an exciting game up here in Canada, a little bit different rules, a little bit different type of athlete, but certainly a very exciting, fast-paced game, and we're watching your game as well, but we appreciate all our American viewers watching the Canadian Football League.
Edmonton number 60. 5-yard penalty.
Chris Morris
Still
call.
first down.
Also like to acknowledge all our fans. Terrific year for the Canadian Football League. Attendance-wise, TV ratings-wise. Another tip of the cap to all the folks in our truck as we finish up our season. What a great crew, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me along as Jason Tucker hits the end zone. A late touchdown in the Labor Day rematch, and now one from Jason Moss with 2:35 to go. And yet a flag is down in the Edmonton backfield.
It'll go against the Calgary Stampeders, though. So the Edmonton Eskimos go all that time without a touchdown pass, and Ricky Ray throwing a touchdown pass. And Jason Moss facing a very different defense right now at this point in the game. Calgary Stampeders playing way back and off. However,
the 11 touchdowns on the year for Jason Tucker, and with that reception, he will clinch the #1 spot in receiving this year. But little Eskimos trying to build some positives for next week, and we'll join Jermaine Franklin.
Thanks, Chris. Sandro DeAngelis suffered what he called a hit pointer off of the very first play of the game. After his kickoff, he was blocked by an Edmonton Eskimo, and he suffered the hit pointer. Now he's been stretching it throughout the entire game. Obviously, it hasn't affected his kicking now, but I guess it'll be the news will happen later on in the week to see how it pans out.
Glenn, I know you spotted that early, and it seems to be getting worse as each time he gets off the field, limping, and the punter Burke Dale's also kind of fought through a hip flexor problem this week.
Well, and these are stories that, you know, we'll have to follow as the week goes on, because the BC Lions are facing some challenges in their kicking position. And these playoff teams, boy, the kicker becomes so important in close games in the playoffs. That one field goal. How many games have gone down to a field goal? Sean Fleming struggled in this game. He's healthy, but struggled. Sandro DeAngelis, now Nick, we'll see how it develops. Now for DeAngelis with a hip pointer, in cold weather, not getting a lot of playing time, being on the bench, it's going to stiffen up and feel probably worse than it really is. But
hands team on, and that ball drilled at the front line of the Stampeders. It looks like Calgary will vacuum up the football and maintain possession. And Jason Gesser comes on, the backup quarterback for the Stampeders.
You mentioned the season it's been in the Canadian Football League, and boy, is it ever. I mean, anytime you have to wait till the very last game of the regular season to find out where the playoff games will be played, that shows you the kind of parity there is in the Canadian Football League. There have been some tremendous plays, unbelievable games.
Gesser handing it off. Man, Reynolds running the football for 3. Well, I mean, the Eskimos came in. They could finish first. They will finish third. That's what kind of tight finish it was. And there are the numbers for Henry Burris. His 8th 300-yard game, finishing with 23 touchdowns on the year and only 12 interceptions. And just 2 interceptions in the last 8 games.
Sounds like an all-star.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. Love y'all. Everybody back in Oklahoma, Maryland,
there he goes.
Saskatchewan.
Hank is thanking our American viewers and Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Doesn't mind getting that last one in.
Hey, Chris Schultz. You got to show us some love sometime now. Come on now. Schultz, we love Duncan. Duncan shows us love. Climber shows us a little love. Come on, Schultz. You got to show us some love, man.
Come on, Chris.
It's only the first half, though. It's only the first half. It's a great team we're playing. Only the first half. You got to get ready for next week.
And then you heard it. That's what had some fun. But at the end of that, Henry Burris talking about this is just the first half of this matchup. He'll be right back here.
He used the steak analogy. 12 ounces today. It'll be a 16-ounce job next week. And then 22 ounces in the Western Final if they're fortunate enough. And then you serve up the 30-ouncer Grey Cup Day. He's got a bigger appetite than I do.
I was going to say, he better bring some of his O-line buddies for that.
Yeah, there's a few guys that they'll be able to handle it.
They could. Those O-linemen, not many buffet lines they walk by. And that could be an area of concern this late in the season for Danny Machocha and the Edmonton Eskimos, because that Calgary defense got to Ricky Ray. A lot of rush throws, and the timing just wasn't there. And that is a concern with a week to prepare, to find out new ways, to figure out new ways to protect Ricky Ray.
It's a puzzling day for the head coach, who thought he had the balanced attack that he's been searching for all year long. David Allen. And you can hear that in the trenches, the battle is still raging on.
The last time the Calgary Stampeders hosted the Western semifinal was back in 2001. They beat the BC Lions 28-19 in that game, and then went on to win in Edmonton in the final. That was a 34-16 finish, and then won the Grey Cup that year. 2001, led by Marcus Crandall.
Second and 12. Gesser dumps it off. Reynolds hauled down quickly. Mobley there, adding to his tackle total on the year. But it's a game of mistakes for the Edmonton Eskimos this afternoon.
You know, that's a cause fumble. That's an interception, a great jump and read by Jermaine Chapman. That one you could have put on the Edmonton Eskimos. That's just a glaring error. A drop ball. And another error from Ed Hervey. So, you know, when you split them up, 3 big plays created by the Calgary defense and 3 glaring mistakes by the Edmonton offense. But the one thing that I was most surprised at when I watched this game in the Edmonton Eskimos was their lack of intensity. And it really didn't look like it was there. And that may be, you know, you're not down there, you're not in the locker room, you're not on the field. We're a long way away from it and in our booth. So, but I've seen this football team play with a lot more emotion.
There's Tompkins, and he steps out at the 2-yard line, and it goes from bad to worse, it seems. But it's almost as if when the BC Lions lost last night, the Eskimos thought they'd had it handed to them. And you know, maybe that's oversimplifying, but Calgary certainly made this their day. Well, David James Elliott stars in the true story of CFL Hall of Famer Terry Evanson, the man who lost himself. Tuesday, November 15th at 8, 7 Central on CTV.
Terry Evanson, one of our gladiators on Friday Night Football. 14 great seasons in the CFL.
Trying to think, Singer Mobley was a gladiator, AJ Gass, Jeff Pilon, and I think slightly controversial Kenyon Rambo.
Yeah, and that was because honorable mention that night went to Henry Burrs. He had played very well. That was the first game back from the thumb injury. But Kenyon Rambo made a couple of real tough catches. And
I know you're loath to just hand it to the high-priced quarterback. But
yeah, well, it's it's not for the player of the game. It's for that player who does a bunch behind the scenes, a couple key blocks, a couple tough catches in traffic, and makes a difference.
Trey Young slow to the sidelines. This Calgary team without a lot of injury woes. Although there'll be some concern for DeAngelis, and Young will get attention there. And Davis is tackled immediately by George White. A few weeks ago, Tom Higgins said, in all sincerity, I believe there are 6 teams that can win the Grey Cup this year, and this may be the best year for parity in quite some time. A lot of people ruled out Saskatchewan in the last week or so because of off-field developments, but they're back into consideration after what they did last night, and now suddenly this team in red is going to step up on the power ratings and potential postseason favorites.
Oh, Chris, I agree with you. Right now, you look at the West Division, you've got to think that Calgary Stampeders are the favorites. I don't think the BC Lions are as bad as their record over the last 6 games. And I know you know, when you look at that record and you see just 1 win, you think, you know, how can a team even be in the playoffs winning 1 win? They won 11 in a row, and some of their losses, 2-point, 3-point losses here and there, including last night a 1-point loss to Saskatchewan.
Well, the good news is Edmonton gambles on 3rd down is that they get an extra week now to regroup. Mark McLaughlin gets an extra week.
Yeah, on the hamstring. As he had a hamstring injury, so that's interesting. We'll see what happens with Sandro DeAngelis. Maybe the team with most concerns in the West will be the Edmonton Eskimos, protecting their quarterback, Ricky Ray, and trying to get some sort of passing offense, especially in the red zone, going. And then you look to the East Division. Well, that's another tough call. The Toronto Argonauts, one of the top teams, but anyone can win over there too.
Jason Moss puts a knee down. This game in the books. Our final game, game 90 of the 2005 CFL regular season. And the Calgary Stampeders settle the affairs in the West. BC's first. The Stamps claim home field. And 2nd place, they'll play host to the 3rd place Eskimos in the Western Semi.
Yeah, on behalf of everybody at TSN Friday Night Football, thanks to all the Canadian Football League viewers for watching this year. It was a tremendous season for us. And boy, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. It's going to be some great playoff matchups down the stretch.
Our title sponsor, Wendy's, Rona, Sport Check, and all the rest. Thanks for your support. Hope you enjoyed it. And good luck to the guys headed to the postseason.